Okay, well,
Okay, we'll call a special, oops,
we aren't doing the flag.
no, okay, well, we'll call the Cheyenne County Special Meeting to order. What do we want to start with?
Right.
No, we need to start with,
Okay.
I have another.
he has an
Okay.
appointment.
I
Okay.
apologize for that.
Yeah, you know what, you can come up here if you'd like.
But this other appointment's been scheduled for 3 weeks and it was hard
You're
to
fine.
change.
Yeah, no, that's. Okay.
Leslie was not able to be here. She had court in another county. What we did find out is this is up on the 15th of November.
Oh,
Not the one I had. Apparently I had. And then this top sheet is what Robert is proposing for changes.
okay. We have a county employee that says they'll mow it for us. If that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you guys want to do that, it's fine.
Okay.
I mean, we need to then reduce the amount you pay me because.
Right. Now, you had Byron do the mowing this summer, or just one time?
I just hire him to do it at the end of the year when there's
Okay.
when we do that big job with all that slow mowing drives me crazy and he doesn't mind it, so I pay him to do it.
Gotcha.
But I suppose I do, well, he does quite a lot. I probably do 75%. Well, more than that if you count the little scooter mower, but
We are wanting to put a different door on the metal Quonset and utilize it for an emergency vehicle, the Cheyenne County Transportation, and the tractor. So, had anybody told you that?
no, well, Scott mentioned what you wanted to do, and just, I don't know that you can do that, at least without special permission from the FAA.
Okay.
I looked it up, and I sent you guys a link, that website on your, or that email address on your website, bocc@cncoks.us.
Check for you often.
Okay, well, I sent a link to it, so you guys can read this. But fundamentally what
Putting the
happened,
door on there. We're talking about putting the door on there. He's not sure it's okay with the FAA.
well, it needs a door. I mean, the door would be great because of that one.
You're talking about putting the city transport in there and stuff. You're not sure if that would be okay?
Well, here's what the FAA says. I printed it out last night. Under federal law, airport operators that have accepted federal funds, and then it goes on to other ones, but if you've accepted federal funds you generally may use airport property only for aviation-related purposes unless otherwise approved by the FAA.
Okay, so we just have to get permission from the FAA.
Well, you need to read this link. I
Okay.
don't know that
What
they will.
is- Do you have an extra one of those?
You can have that.
Okay.
But I sent you the link for the Federal Register
Forward that
thing.
link on to you.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't have my glasses. I had to pick up.
All right, let me just briefly summarize what the FAA said. They did this in I remember when Scott told me what you're thinking about, I remembered this, and so I went and looked it up last night. In 2015, the FAA was getting complaints from various pilots on airports that said, there's hangars that would be available for my airplane, but they're full of service vehicles, junk, shit like, I mean, things
Gotcha.
that shouldn't be in it. And so the FAA said, we are going to issue a ruling, and they had 2,500 comments. This was a controversial thing because it not only applies to municipal buildings, it applies to private hangars. This applies to the hangars
Your
that I
hangar,
have.
you
Yeah, yeah.
too.
And they said, it has to be open for airplanes. When they say aviation uses, they mean, and if you go to the FAA and try to get a special permit, what it will say, according to this link, is that if one person comes up and says, I want to put my airplane in there, you have to be out in less than 30 days.
I see.
They essentially do not want, and that metal building, I mean, I would agree with you guys, that metal building isn't much of a hangar, but it does have an airplane in it right now.
Yes, Ron's.
But both ends of it, if you go look at it, has concrete that was laid by federal funds.
Ah,
So
There
it
we
is
go.
definitely a hang, I mean, the concrete is probably worth more than the building. But I'm not able to tell you yes or no. You need to talk to the airport commission on this.
Okay.
But you may not, it may be a real issue with the FAA, and their threat is that they will cut off federal funding.
We don't want that.
No.
Okay.
So, I mean, but I did, just to keep going a little further than maybe you want me to, I looked at, there's that area north of that round top building, the other hangar, that's a big flat area that the hangar road has.
Oh, okay.
You could build a building there. It would be an ideal spot for a big, nice building. Now, you would have to get FAA approval for that, and you would have to change the airport layout plan, which would cost you an engineering fee. So it's not like, but if the FAA would approve it for non-aeronautical use, that's what they call it, I mean, that would be a place where it's flat and it's nice, and the way it's in there, there's no taxiways going to it right now.
Right.
So if you're looking for.
Wouldn't look like that.
Well, I'm just throwing that out. I don't know what your plans are, but I do think that, and the other thing, I guess, to think about, I've thought about this, that old metal building isn't much. It does right now, your tractor is in it in the winter, but we put it over on the side, and since Ron's airplane's so small, he can still get in and out, so I think you're okay there. They allow you to put vehicles in as long as they don't impede airplanes going in and out.
Right.
So like, somebody that drives up to the airport, gets out of his car, parks it in his hangar and flies away, that's okay.
See, in typical hangars don't have doors on both sides though either, so could we just, I mean, would the FAA allow us to put up just a temporary wall in there? I mean, we'd have to check, but that's what I'm thinking is if there's doors on both sides, planes can get in and out, they don't have to worry about, so it's not a question for you, it's for the FAA, I understand, so.
Correct, and the other thing to remember about that is that if you have a hangar that only has a door on one side, which as you point out, a lot of them do, not all of them, what that means is if you put 3 airplanes in it, then if I want to get my airplane in
You
its
have to
back,
move the 2, yeah.
not only do I have to move the 2, I have to move that belong to 2 other people, and so I get liability. It's not a very,
The big hangar in Goodland has airplanes that you have to, you've seen that, I mean, there's like 20 airplanes, or probably 15 airplanes in that one hangar.
but the way that works, just so you understand it, is that the FBO, Butterfly Aviation,
Right.
has insurance called hangar keepers.
Right, so if you bump into something, I see what you're saying, okay.
They don't let you, as far as I know, they probably won't let me go in and move your airplane. I will call Butterfly will you
Get it
move
out,
yours.
okay.
So I'm just saying, and you do have to have, if you don't have insurance, if you rent the building out for an airplane
Yeah,
and the building falls in on it, the guy's insurance company will pay him and then they'll subrogate against you. They will
Right.
say to the court, this guy was taking money for airplane rental and didn't have insurance, and we had to pay it, so we want this guy to pay us.
gotcha.
They subrogate.
So the other part, say like mowers and any airport equipment, can you put them in those?
Well, I already have the scooter mower in there, but it can be moved. You know, if somebody came to me and said, I want to put my airplane in there, I can move it in 30 seconds.
Okay.
Right. The other thing that's in there, just again, so you guys know, the other thing that's in there, probably the most valuable thing that's in there, is the runway lights have a big box that controls them, and it's in there. So if you were to, like, I guess what I started to say earlier is, even though that building isn't much, it has a great location because it has taxiways on both sides.
Right.
You could tear that down, build a brand-new hangar there, and you'd have something.
Right.
You'd have taxiways on both ends, you'd have a nice hangar, but you do have the problem of that electrical,
Control box. for-
yes.
If we rented out the one end for one airplane, we wouldn't have to worry about, we would still have to have insurance on it, but that becomes a serious problem if you got a V-tail and you bump one of the tail fins, of course.
Exactly. As far as I know, now, I have a hangar that I would rent out right now, if you're looking for a hangar.
Awesome.
You guys could rent that right now, the way the contract is set up on that middle building is that if it gets rented out, the money goes to Grace Flying Service. If you want to change that, I'm amenable to that. Your problem here is not me. Your problem is the FAA and the Airport Commission. I mean, I would work with you because I don't see it as, well, right now, the door on the other end is just horrible. And Ron and I spent, over the last 20 years, we tried 3 times to fix that. And it's still just miserable. We need somebody smarter than us.
That's what Roger was saying. We need to do something different if we're gonna put a vehicle in there. I didn't know if we could specify the transport vehicle and say, you know, we'll take pilots around if they wanna use our free transportation.
You need to read this link. I don't think it's gonna fly.
I know, there's always a little bit.
Well, what happened was, I think what happened was, is there were a lot of airports doing exactly what you guys want to do, and the FAA got mad about it. And a lot of people said, there was a huge number of comments from people like me that said, you can't tell me what I can do with my private hangar. And the FAA says, actually, we can, because you're on an airport that has federal funding, and that airport agreed to certain limitations when they took that money. And so the fact that you own the hangar doesn't help you any, because it's on property that the underlying entity doesn't control by itself. It controls it in conjunction with the FAA. So I can't use my hangar. I mean, I can't go turn it into a storage shed. Even though I own it, I pay taxes on it, I buy the electricity, I buy the insurance.
Right.
I can't use that thing for anything other than airplanes.
Okay, well, probably the smartest thing for us to do right now would be to check into it before
Right.
we even continue any further with it, because it
If I were you, I'd talk to the airport commission first and
That's
see
what
if
I
they're
said.
okay with it. Then you have to get the FAA involved. And one more thing, if you read it, you need to read this link. It's maybe 6 or 7 pages, but it'll be worth your while. They also say that they may, well, they do inspect. See, every 2 or 3 years, somebody comes and inspects the airport, and it specifically states that that person looks in the hangars to see if they're being used. So this is a policy that they actually enforce. And the second thing they say is, if you want to get this special use and try to do something, then they want a copy of all your airport agreements with the tenants on the airport. And I'm not sure that you have those. So I'm just saying, if you start down this path with the FAA, you may get involved in some more
Do we have any
paperwork.
tenants
open up a big
agreements?
can of worms is what you're
Scott,
saying.
do you know if we
Could
have
be.
tenants
I don't
agreements
want to
on
make
that
this worse than
airport?
it is, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, you know, like, I think I have to agree with you, is that first things first, see if they would allow it, and if it's too much trouble, it might be better if I find somewhere else.
That's the
to
other
put it.
thing. What you're getting is I don't know how bad you guys need storage, but this is a pretty crappy building. I mean, don't you have anything better than this?
I think
We don't.
Availability,
Okay, well, then.
availability of where it was, I
If we had
think.
someplace else to put it, we definitely would.
Well, then, maybe you want to go down I feel like I'm the bearer of bad news here,
Yeah.
but this is what the,
Just a question and answer period. You're not the bearer of bad news. It
Okay.
gives us the homework.
okay, well, you have the link, and it's pretty easy to read. It's just, it goes on in some detail. You might want to scroll down to the bottom. The first third or half of it is all the different comments that they got, but the summary is toward the bottom, so that'll save you a little time, but.
Okay, well, I for one, I don't know about you two guys, but I think first things first, we ought to talk to them, but it doesn't sound real promising.
Not right now.
Well, the FAA specifically is trying to stop you from doing what you're doing. That's your problem.
Right.
They don't want, if you could, but see, your problem is, the only reason we get away, I guess, when I say get away with putting the snow moving tractor in there is because Ron's airplane has such a short wingspan, we can get the tractor in beside it. But almost any other airplane in the world, that hangar is so narrowed that there's no place to park beside it. Now, you could maybe park in the middle of it, as long as there's no airplane on the other end. But see, your problem is if somebody puts an airplane on the other end, now the same thing happens that happens before. If you want to get your tractor or whatever you're going to get out of there, you got to move their airplane. And they probably don't want you doing that. So I know everybody looks at that building and thinks, oh, that'd be great, but it's for airplanes.
Is that an RV6 with a stabilator on it that he has? I've never seen an RV with a stabilator.
No, it's not an RV. I'm trying to remember what it is, but it's not an RV. It's a different, it'll come to me in a second. It's smaller than an RV. I mean, that thing only has,
Oh, I know. 90 horse or something?
I don't know. No, I'm going to guess it's probably like a Lycoming 115, but I don't know that either. We have to get Ron and ask him. I actually think, just to tell you, that it's a good deal for Ron to have that airplane in that hangar because makes it look, I actually keep my airplane over in the shop building instead of in my hangar, even though my hangar has a bifold door and would be handier, just to make it look like it's being used as a hangar. I mean, I take this pretty seriously. I think the FAA,
Well, I think, yeah, we know they'll take it serious.
well, I think they will. Now, I don't know. You need to talk to somebody that knows more than I do about all of this. But
Maybe our
if you read this, you get the feeling that they take it seriously.
Okay, well,
Sorry, I wish I had better news. I don't care if you use it.
I know. I will look at this when I can read it.
All I did, the only change I made, I'll summarize briefly. The contract from last year was for $450 a month, and I just raised it by 8% for inflation. Other than that, I changed nothing because it's been working well. Mike Hansen has been doing a really good job of moving snow, and he and I are working together to file the NOTAMs, and he wants to start trying to file the NOTAMs, and I've been working on that, but it's tricky, but we're getting closer. The FAA doesn't have a training program on these NOTAMs, and I can barely use it, so I don't feel competent to train somebody. You know, I really wish they had some sort of formalized training. But I'm going to put him on there so that he can, if he wants to file NOTAMs, and I'm all for that because it shows initiative. And he's been doing a really good job of monitoring the runway and moving the snow. I'm extremely happy with his work.
Yeah.
And the rest, and I think the mowing has been done all summer, so basically my only change was to say, look, inflation's 8%, I want 8% more. So I get the same as I got last year. And other than that, there are no changes. That's the proposal. But it does expire on November 15th. I mean, not a huge deal, but just so you know.
Okay.
okay, well, thank you, because like I said, I didn't have a clue with that.
Well,
I
I
don't
don't,
think anybody else did. either.
actually, the truth of it is there may be people like Rick and Dave and Devin that actually don't know this either. I mean, this is sort of like, if you build on an airport, you're losing some flexibility. That's
I
what it
know.
comes down to.
I was looking at building a hangar and I was gonna put some of my old cars in there and it's like, you can't do that.
No, you cannot.
I was like,
Look, I had a guy, just to show you how serious I am about this, I had a guy, or a gal, I don't know which, I think it was a gal, 2 months ago that was emailing me asking me if I would rent him a hangar. And I said, yeah, sure, you know, I've got one I'm not using right now. And they said, well, we don't want to put an airplane in it. And I said, well, I can't do that. That's the end of this conversation.
Right.
And you won't be able to do it on any airport that's got federal funding. And they're kind of like, well, we didn't know that. And it's like, yeah, nobody knows that, but that's how it works.
Okay, well,
I'm going to leave this with you. Are you guys done with me?
yes.
All right. Good luck.
All right, hey, thanks for coming in. Oh, have a good day.
thanks a lot, Robert.
You bet. See you. All right, I'll just, whenever, get back to me on that. I mean, like I say, there's no changes.
Think about if you wanna change that if Mike does all the mowing, that way you don't have to deal with that.
Oh, we didn't even talk about that. Yeah, we definitely need to talk about, if he wants to do all the mowing, then I think,
Just kinda work through Scott.
then I'm down to, well, we have to change the agreement, but at that point, I'm down to fixing the runway line. I mean, maybe you guys want to take it all over, I don't know.
Well, I don't know, you're gonna be late for your meeting, I guess we'll come in November 15th, maybe we can talk more.
Okay, I
Don't you agree?
think,
Well, don't we have to have the agreement signed by then?
well, if it isn't, nothing bad.
No big deal. Okay, that's great then.
Okay, so you want me to try to come in on the 15th? Well, wait a minute. 15th is yeah.
Tuesday.
I could do that. So you want me to come in what time?
9:15 work?
9:15 on the 15th? Okay.
And that'll give us some time to read through this and look at the FAA.
Yeah, I need to think about it too, because I don't know at this point. I mean, there are other things that the operator does, but I guess the question is, are you wanting to do everything?
Okay,
Or do you just want to mow?
okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right, thank
See you
you.
then.
See ya. Mike said he could do everything. He wanted to come, he wanted us to,
You're just going to take my
you want me to
son?
have him come in?
Steal it up, Howard, steal it up.
You want Hanson to come in? He said he would.
Come in now?
Yeah,
For
he's gonna tell you he would do everything.
the lighting and everything?
Well, that's what I don't know, the lighting. I don't,
I
we're
don't
not,
know, do we want to start somebody new on that kind of stuff?
I'm having trouble with Mike for the fact that Is he gonna do it all he's gotta do it all off hours, he can't do it during county
Yeah.
time.
You want me to have him swing in quick?
Other than, you know, I'll have to think about it for a while.
Okay,
Okay,
sorry.
where do we want to go next?
Right.
Man, he looks like he's got some serious stuff here.
Running off that.
I think I lost my glasses in the ditch.
We have lots of readers in there.
Yes, I know. Well, that's a lot better. What? No, I'm okay. I can, Willie's got these. I
You
can
can fake it?
fake it till I make it, right?
Okay, so I first want to start off dotting i's, crossing t's, looking everything up. Went through the ARPA funding. It says in here that funds have to be obligated by the end of 2024, but you have until the end of 2026 to finish out projects, like to actually pay for them. So the money, as I read this, doesn't have to be spent by 2024, but it has to be obligated. So the checks can still be wrote after that, up until the end of 2026 is how I read
So
that.
Just
we
earmark
just
it.
keep it in our account. Our
Yeah,
bank,
I
and
mean, Don's here too, but
Yes.
As long as it's earmarked, it's okay then?
yeah,
What
it
it's
says,
getting at is if this doesn't, they're what, 2 to 3 years out?
yeah, so like any project, like if you say, yeah, we're gonna use ARPA funds on it, but then delays and everything else pushes you past that 2024, as long as it's obligated, you're still, because it says guidance which indicates that funding must be obligated by December 31st, 2024, but will remain available for expenditures and liquidation through December 31st, 2026. So, clarified that part up. In doing that, I also, Kelly helped me, she contacted the Office of Recovery because I just wanted to verify for everyone that an ambulance purchase would be allowable. It is allowable if the county, and there's several things in here, but basically if the county took the allowable loss, then it would cover under services. If the county did not elect to do the U.S. Treasury standard allowance and has not identified revenue loss, the purchase of an ambulance could still be eligible use of the funds as it assists in responding to COVID-19 public health emergency. So by their email, I think we're covered under both areas for an ambulance purchase.
Okay.
So I just want to verify that because we don't want to spend the money incorrectly. So, but then it says that we have to do a formal bid process, sealed bid process,
Sealed bid. Oh,
because
boy.
we're using federal funds.
Which I have asked about, I've
Okay.
emailed and asked the question, if we can do the competitive procurements, which we have done,
Right.
if we would need to do sealed bids. So I would guess he's pretty quick at responding, so
Okay.
Well-
I was hoping that I would have an answer.
well, if we had the sealed bids deal, wouldn't it, would we be able to order it? We wouldn't be able to order it then.
No. Because the local policy, I pulled it, basically I have to ask you guys for a motion and approval to do a formal bid process, send out the specs, then we have to get sealed bids, and then we have to have a meeting where we open those sealed bids and then we award it then. So we couldn't order it.
And what if the 3 different people are bidding on a different,
Well, that's why you spec it and they have to bid to those specs.
to that spec? Because like I know you talked before about some were, not apples to apples. Just
Well, the
a little
specs
different.
are, it's just each company has a different way of, some have more safety standards they claim and different things, and that adjusts your price. But the specs are the same.
Okay,
Does that answer your question?
yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Okay. So, and then there's there's a procedure locally that
Is
we
there
have
anything
to.
about an underserved area in that, Kelly? I mean, since.
There what?
Anything about an underserved area? Government stuff usually will have an underserved area, like in a small town where we've only got one car dealer and we want to keep the business local because tax revenue is local. I mean, I think there's several different ways we could
That is
approach
a
it.
good question, and I have not.
Because, I mean, otherwise, it's gonna take up a lot more time.
So ordering the chassis, I can get the specs and order the chassis, which I have specs for the two companies that we have proposals from. And I've talked to Chris. And I think because that's on a government fleet
They're
contract.
probably all gonna be about the same, even if we got one from, say, Tubbs and Sons and, correct?
That depends on how they wanna raise up Oak Boys,
Okay,
depending on
well,
availability.
and they could not have a side impact airbag like you were saying, and the price could be lower and look better. I just assume try to do local, so if we could check on that. So Medicare has things for doctors in small town areas to try to keep us here, and it's called an underserved area, and you'll get a bonus check every 6 months or so. And so the government does have programs out there to try to keep people in small towns, and that was why I was asking her. And my guess is, since the tax dollars are
Being used.
being used in county, I think there's probably several different loopholes, but I don't know that for a fact.
So, I have the proposals here, but I guess if you guys think we need to do sealed bids,
Well, didn't you say we had to?
She's
I don't
waiting on
think we
a,
do have to, but I have not gotten the answer.
So what happens if we go without it for now and then we've, find out that we had to, can we go back and start over?
well, we could then, I guess.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll have an answer sometime this afternoon or first thing in the morning.
Okay.
So I guess,
So if we have an answer, then I say we would step forward now, and if we have to do sealed bids, then we backstep. I mean, is that what we're trying
You will
to?
also need to make a motion to not use to allow this without getting sealed bids due to our.
Small, underserved area.
No, of the county's purchasing policy.
And you're very limited on time.
Right.
You got days, and then you close.
Because this amount also in our purchasing
I agree
policy
for the
says that we
whole
need to do sealed bids,
You're
but
the chairman.
commissioners can override that.
When did you find out about if we order it and the price goes up?
okay, so this is ordering it through them with their, if they order the chassis. The one company says that they will not guarantee the price because they don't know the price of the chassis. However, when we sign the purchase order, that price, they'll have the price then when you sign the purchase order.
It sounds like one of those government deals where we do sealed bids, but the price goes up and it surpasses the next lowest bid. I mean, we would have been better to do business locally in the first place where we can, I mean, you know
Well,
what
we
I'm
gotta be
saying?
careful with business locally, because we can get the chassis locally, but not the whole. The chassis then gets drop shipped and then they build the whole.
Yeah.
That's why I'm also like the bid process, we run an ad in the paper here for an ambulance.
Shit.
Nobody here builds ambulances, so, I mean,
Yeah, so in other words, we can bid locally for the chassis and then have them deliver the chassis to whoever wins the bid of
yes.
putting.
And both companies that have shown interest have said that would be great, because they're also limited. Everybody's limited. They're gonna open this up, correct me if I'm wrong, Chris. They're gonna open this up, you put in your orders and you may get them and you may not. So,
Old Bay will open, will be closed in a couple days. And you'll be waiting until 24 or 25. Maybe 26.
Well, I think we're gonna have to do something right away because we can't risk waiting.
I'm not getting it.
Well, I agree, we need to do something right away, but I don't like signing a contract when the bid means nothing.
Right.
It don't mean anything. You're gonna bid something in at $2,000 and then when it comes, they say it's worth $4,000. We
Yeah.
can't
Now,
do business that way.
the one company,
So 262,800, what company was that? This the lower one?
okay, I guess, should I just handle that one? Okay.
I'm sorry, I was looking
Well,
back.
if
in my
we were
notes.
gonna do reset the process, that's gonna change things. Okay, so the chassis stuff is up front. This is from Chris. So the chassis, and again, he has to plug this in Monday to get everything correct, right? But that price is $62,860. So he can tell us what a 23 chassis is going to cost.
Well, even if we didn't sign the other, Roger, if we didn't sign the other contract, as long as we signed the one for the chassis, that's what, the first things first, right?
Well, but where are you gonna have the chassis sent to?
No, but I mean, we have plenty of time to look at that afterwards, because
We'll know either later
First-
this afternoon or tomorrow morning whether we have to do the sealed bids, and I think that's what you're trying to say, is that correct?
well, what I'm saying is say we buy the chassis, and they're not gonna have it for how long? A year, year and a half? Maybe,
Fair.
2 years, maybe?
I
Well,
wouldn't go that far, but maybe.
there's no reason why we say we have to, where we have to send it to right away. Is there?
Other than your chassis got to fit what they're gonna build.
Yeah.
So you kinda need to know what company you're gonna have build your ambulance, so the chassis is what they need.
No, but what I'm saying is as long as we have the chassis, that's the information that the other people have to build to it.
Oh, I mean, I don't know that they will, but.
They have to, if you're buying the chassis here, they
Okay,
have to
so,
build
so
to that
these,
chassis.
these proposals,
Yeah, but if you don't get that chassis to them so that they can plan on building
and
it,
the correct one,
and if chassis change, they're not gonna go back and build you an old.
Right, it needs to be together.
Okay, well,
so these proposals are an ambulance, chassis, the ambulance all built. What they're saying is you can order the chassis, so if we decide a company, they give us the specs for the chassis, Chris can put it in, see if he can get it. If he gets it, it'll be drop shipped to them, they'll build the ambulance, and
okay,
we could possibly get the ambulance done sooner. Because he may be able to get a chassis quicker than the company can.
okay, so,
But just to order a chassis and not know what company you're gonna have do the rest of it makes me nervous.
But I thought what I was asking, when you handed me this, we had two different bids, one was
Okay,
262.80.
Right, so sorry. Okay, so the 264, and it's changed, because I went back through
Okay,
and made sure everything was correct, and we changed it just a tad bit, so, that way we've got the same specs. The, bid one, Lifeline, 264,639.
okay, Lifeline.
And that is the one that says this price cannot be guaranteed due to the uncertainty of the chassis manufacturers not releasing their new pricing. Final pricing will be quoted at the time of final order. So if you go with this company, when they give us the final PO to sign to say, yes, we're gonna order this ambulance,
It
they
could
will
be
give
up or
you the
down.
final price then. If they can't get a 23, or if you can't get a 23 and we go to a 24, you'll get that pricing in 24 to sign. Does that mean? Okay, so then the other company, ARV, they're 313 to 1856. He said that is guaranteed, it will not change. Depending, it doesn't matter whether it's a 23, 24 chassis, if there's an uptick in the chassis, that's on them. That is a guaranteed price. So,
Wow. Delivery 540 to 720 days.
I asked him if we put in an order through our local dealership to get the chassis ourselves to try to get it quicker, can we do that? He said yes. I said then, when we sign the PO, because he said they assign a chassis, or they'll put the chassis order in with the PO. I said, if we get our own, will you put that in the purchase order that the price will reduce then if we have our own chassis? And he said yes.
500 days.
So, because I wanted to verify, he says that price is guaranteed, but will you drop it if we get our own chassis? So,
So they, The American response, 540 days to 720 days to get it done. The other one's 200 days.
Careful.
Uh-oh. If I misspoke, then it's the glass is full.
200 days from receipt of the chassis.
Okay.
So if you don't get a chassis till 24, it's 200 days
Days from
past
then,
that.
yes. That I understand, yes.
So it's basically the kind of the same,
Same time frame.
yeah.
Well, but you wouldn't have the chassis to the other guys. I would assume that 540 to 720 days is,
So by that definition, if, big if, we get a 23 chassis that's delivered in the first part of 23, then it would be 200 days, so we possibly could have it by the end of 23. The other one is saying delivery will be 540 to 720 days, after the approval of the work. So. According to that, if we signed it today, the soonest we'd have it is 540 days, so. This does include the graphics and delivery. The ARV proposal does have a final inspection for one person to fly to Jefferson, North Carolina to do a walkthrough and final inspection. You don't have to do that, so we can take that out.
So what's your suggestion?
easier if we had a confirmation. So if we had to do sealed bids, then we could just make a decision. Correct?
I really think what you've done is okay. By the way I read it, but
Would it make sense to?
Here's we need an ambulance,
Right, we do need an ambulance.
but I want to make sure we do this right because I don't want us to order an ambulance that we haven't done right and we can't use the funds for it. Because I only have $190,000 in equipment reserve right now. I have scheduled for another $55,000 to be transferred at the end of the year if everything works out. So that'll put us at about $240 with county budget, which we don't want to do because we still have another ambulance to work on. So, but
Does it make sense to wait till the morning before we decide?
I'd come in more afternoon if we need to.
That's what I'm saying, maybe we might have to just wait till she tells
Roger,
us what we can
Would you be
do,
able to
what we
stop in
can't.
tomorrow if we need to finalize this? Do you want to just see if you get a confirmation? If you do, Scott will get a hold of us and we can come in and do it. Because I don't have a problem saying, hey, let's do it, because I think you got a lot of arguable points, but if we want to have our T's dotted, no, T's crossed, I's dotted, that's more than just my eyes today. Anyway.
That's what I think we'd be better off.
I
doing
can't
this.
override the bid process.
Yeah, no, but
That-
what I'm saying is if we postpone this, say till tomorrow afternoon, she'll have us,
A verdict on whether it needs sealed bids.
whether we can do that or not.
And if
then
we
we'll
can
just
get
come
away
back in.
without doing sealed bids, then we can put our best foot forward. Otherwise, we have to go through the sealed bid process. That way, we don't get ahead of ourselves, nor do you. I don't mind coming in, because it's only gonna take 10 minutes, if everything's ready. Is that okay with you, Chris?
As long as the order gets in Monday,
All
first
right.
come, first served. There's a lot of
Okay.
people waiting.
Yeah.
Now, he did say if we order a chassis and then something changes, we can cancel it up until.
Then order it,
Up until it's invoiced?
wouldn't you
Yeah,
think?
until I get it in.
Wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
If you can do,
And we wouldn't be on the hook or have to pay for it till it's delivered.
So can we do this tomorrow afternoon?
Yeah, whenever you want.
I get back at 2. 2:30 would probably be better, but I can come up if it's real short.
Well, I'd rather do later because I got something I'm gonna.
What time would work for you?
2:33.
Roger?
Whenever you want, it's fine with me.
You say the time, I'll be here.
3?
All right, I'll try to be here.
Is that okay with everybody else? Is that okay with you, Ryan?
That way.
I'll make it work. And again, I apologize that this just seems to be, but I want to make sure we're doing this absolutely
Well, so do we.
I don't
correct.
blame you. I
What
agree.
is this,
Do you want this back?
what's this striker power pin stretcher and stuff?
Okay, so that's not in there. That is if we put that in, which our ambulances have them, that's that power load system and then the gurney. That's how much they cost.
So it's not in the bid.
Oh, that's his resolution.
Are you gonna put it in there?
The power load we'll have to have. Our cot, stretcher, whatever you want to call it, we can use it. But the power load that's in the ambulance, we're going to replace it because that's been part of the problem with 11A.
Yeah.
The electrical problem in the ambulance has burned that out 3 times.
Oh, snap.
So,
Yeah. So like the striker part, we could put it in afterwards. It could
The
be
gurney?
an after, yeah, it could be an after. Right, it don't have to be part of this whole deal.
no, and actually they're saying that because of the fluctuation in prices and everything else, they're recommending that we order that ourselves, and so then when we get the ambulance, that will go in.
Yeah, okay.
Because sometimes we can get better
There's quite a little
pricing.
difference prices between the two
Yes.
companies.
And we already have an agreement with Stryker, we already have, I mean, they do all of our preventive maintenance and everything, so we'll price it ourselves.
Okay, and could we use one out of the other ambulance, 11A?
Well, that's the one we keep having problems with, because
Yeah.
the electrical keeps burning out, so. Yeah. And 11B does not have one,
Right, okay.
so.
All right, so then, is that, if everybody in agreement that we'll
That's
come
fine.
back at 3 tomorrow and
Yeah.
you'll hopefully have that information?
I will get it to you. I'm not gonna be in town tomorrow, but I will let Ryan know as soon as I.
Okay, great.
Thumbs up or thumbs down is sufficient to me.
Sorry about all this.
No, I am sorry, I feel like we just keep kinda,
Gotta get it right.
but as I
Yeah.
keep digging in, I find this and this, and I wanna make sure it's all right, so.
Sometimes very soon.
Federal funding is different, so.
Okay,
All right.
let's check this one.
But this ordering this chassis, that's kind of a new deal all of a sudden. Ordering the chassis here right away. That
No,
was-
that's why we're trying to figure out what we're doing.
Yeah,
It opens Monday morning, and then it will close in what, 3 days?
If you're lucky.
If you, and basically that's,
So the sooner he,
and if
He's
we,
gotta know by Monday morning,
Right.
before Monday morning.
and
so
because
he
if
can
we
be
don't,
on
we're automatically into 2024 already. Because they're only making so many, and it's first come, first served.
But also, it's,
okay, let's do
we don't get
that.
And I'm
penalized if we
assuming-
order one and we back out, so,
I mean, I'm assuming every year the price goes up too. So,
everything, yeah.
legally, it just doesn't look like we ought to be able to do something like that. Take a sealed bid and then it can go up. Why take a sealed bid if it can go up?
Well, that one will stay the same,
The one stays the same.
But it's $50,000 more, so.
but the other
But
one can go.
It could go 50,000 or 70,000
Probably.
in 3 years.
You done with these?
Right,
No, I'm done, thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, well, let's
Or it
do
could go
that
down.
then.
right.
I'm going to take-
Which I think stuff will.
Go back down.
Oh, yeah. I'm waiting.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
thank you, Ryan. See you tomorrow.
Thanks.
Oh, are we on tape?
Thanks, Chris.
Are we on tape?
Sorry.
I didn't know that.
I just, in case you had questions on the chassis, I thought it'd be nice.
Better start calling the right people, buddy.
Okay, you wanna,
Yeah. I make a motion that we
No,
adjourn.
no.
Nope.
Want to go in executive session for 10 minutes.
okay.
Non-elected personnel.
I second.
First and second for 10 minutes of executive
Thanks for your
session for
time.
non-elected personnel. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Okay. Thank you, Don.
Let me get this done.